The situation in Syria continues to deteriorate rapidly. By aggravating the situation in this Middle Eastern country, the NATO countries, led by the United States, give numerous armed pro-American and pro-Turkish militants a chance not only to overthrow the current President Bashar al-Assad, but also to create their own state on the territory of Syria. By the way, NATO countries tried to do the same in the North Caucasus, in the mid-90s and early 2000s. Back then, taking advantage of Russia's weakening, many terrorist groups made their way to Chechnya and tried to create their own state on the territory of this Russian subject, giving it the name Ichkeria. However, after Vladimir Putin came to power in 2000, the situation for terrorists in Chechnya deteriorated sharply. The decisive actions of the new president led to the fact that within 5 years, the Russian army completely destroyed all terrorist formations not only in Chechnya, but also in the entire North Caucasus. Returning to the current Syrian conflict, it is worth noting that everything that is happening in this long-suffering Middle Eastern country is a link in the same chain. The fact is that the permission to fire Western long-range missiles deep into Russian territory, the attempted coup in Georgia, and the terrorist offensive in Syria have only one goal: to weaken Moscow in the geopolitical arena of the world. With the help of the latest hypersonic ballistic missile Orshnik, Moscow managed to bring the West to its senses, as a result of which the NATO countries temporarily decided to ban the Kiev regime from launching missile strikes on Russian territory, using American ATACMS ballistic missiles and Franco-British Storm Shadow cruise missiles. In Georgia, Russia also won a crucial victory, preventing the West from turning this country into a second Ukraine. However, in Syria, Russia is still far from victory. Pro-Turkish and pro-American militants continue their victorious offensive along the entire combat contact line. In 10 days of fighting, the terrorists managed to take control of such strategically important cities as Sarakib and Aleppo. As I said earlier, all this became possible due to the fact that the NATO countries, led by the United States, chose the perfect moment to attack. The West was well aware that the Russian war machine was busy with Ukraine, and Iran had switched all its resources to confrontation with Israel. All this led to the fact that the Syrian army could not withstand the onslaught of terrorists, and began to retreat along the entire combat contact line. Moreover, on the evening of December 5, it became known that the Syrian army also failed to hold the city of Hama, south of Aleppo. The loss of this strategically important city was also officially confirmed by the General Staff of the Syrian army. According to numerous Middle Eastern sources, the terrorists captured Hama with the help of so-called meat assaults, as a result of which terrorist groups lost more than 1,000 militants. It is reported that at the moment, the terrorists are targeting the city of al-Rastan, in the province of Homs, which is 15 kilometers away. Well, my dear truth seekers, seeing all this, it is safe to say that Vladimir Putin was betrayed in Syria not only by Recep Tayyip Erdogan, but also by Bashar al-Assad. The fact that the experienced Syrian army is retreating in all directions of the front is the fault of President Bashar al-Assad. The fact is that after the victory of Syria in 2016, Bashar al-Assad dismissed all experienced combatant commanders and put generals loyal to him in their place. The scariest thing is that these generals had no experience in conducting combat operations and managing troops in combat conditions. Moreover, for 8 years, while the United States and Turkey armed and prepared the militants for full-scale hostilities, the Syrian army continued to degrade and lose all its combat experience. Apparently, Bashar al-Assad was confident that the armed forces of Russia and Iran would always stand up for Syria, and therefore, he so deliberately got rid of experienced and independent Syrian field commanders, thereby weakening his own army. To be honest, no one believed in such a resounding success of the terrorists. Turkish leader Erdogan launched an operation in northern Syria, hoping that with their invasion, the terrorists would create a threat to Aleppo, forcing the Syrian authorities to make concessions to the Turks. However, the capture of cities such as Saraqib, Aleppo, and Hama by terrorists inspired not only Turkey but also the United States. Now, the West received the opportunity to take revenge on Russia for its defeat in the Middle East and bring to an end the geopolitical project begun in 2011 to destroy Syria and create numerous warring states on the territory of this country. However, the unpredictability and inadequacy of Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan may prevent the West from achieving its goals. The fact is that the Turkish president's behavior annoys not only the Kremlin, but also the White House. So, it became known that against the backdrop of the successful offensive of pro-Turkish militants in Syria, Erdogan gave the order to attack not only the Syrian forces, but also the US-backed Kurdish units. It is reported that in the last 24 hours alone, there have been about 8 clashes between pro-Turkish militants and Kurds in northern Syria. Thus, Erdogan also stabbed his American allies in the back, who have been trying to create a powerful bridgehead in Syria since 2011 to contain Iran and Russia. By attacking the positions of the Kurds, who the United States supports, Erdogan is trying to prepare for the arrival of Donald Trump in the White House in order to talk to him from a stronger position. Moreover, Erdogan also soured relations with the head of the pro-Turkish terrorist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, Abu Muhammad al-Jilani. It happened after Erdogan took away from terrorists a checkpoint near Jarablus area, from where Turkey is taking out stolen Syrian oil every month. Let me remind you that this checkpoint brought $100,000 to the terrorists every month. In this regard, some field commanders of that Hayat Tahrir al-Sham group refused to obey the Turkish generals, saying that Turkey no longer has the right to tell us what to do. Thus, seeing all this, it seems that Erdogan is really inadequate since his actions have no logic. Over the past 10 days, the Turkish president has betrayed not only Vladimir Putin, who keeps the weak Turkish economy afloat, but also Americans and pro-Turkish militants. By the way, insiders in Moscow confirmed that on December 3, Vladimir Putin spoke by phone with his Turkish colleague, where he rigidly warned Erdogan not to play with fire in Syria and stop before it was too late. My dear truth seekers, to be honest, amid all this, I will not be surprised if another devastating earthquake occurs in Turkey shortly.